Our next speaker is Dr. Michael Filosi from Fullerton Park Dental. Michael is a fully fledged card-carrying nerd, his words not mine, and he would not have it any other way. He loves to solve hard, interesting, meaningful problems and is ever curious about how to do things better and dive deeper into those areas of life and business that interest him. A dentist by profession, Michael turned a worn-out dental practice with a big heart and great bones into a 10-surgery facility in the heart of the inner eastern suburbs of Adelaide. Michael spends his spare time indulging in his love of the joys of learning and play, be that a board game, a magic trick, a basketball scrimmage with friends, or building a treehouse. Please welcome the tallest guy in the room, Michael Filosi.
Can everyone hear me? Is that coming through okay? Yep. No? Better? Cool beans. My name's Michael. I am a dentist and a business owner, and I own Fullerton Park Dental. I'm talking today about Google reviews, which are incredibly important and something I think adds real value to businesses. Whether you're a business owner or if you work for an agency or something, ultimately the end goal is really to deliver value. It's to get, in our case, a bum on a seat. And so all the funnel should drive towards getting a client, a patient, something like that. And I don't think very many things do that better than what Google reviews and abundance of them do. And I've lived that firsthand. I've seen that. So here we go. So this is us, Fullerton Park Dental, 421 Google reviews, 5-star average. So business owner, I'm fairly sure that's more than any other dental practice in Adelaide. But it didn't start out like that though. It started like this. And I had to chase this up, and it sort of brought back heart palpitations. So I remember sitting in the car park, getting an email going, oh, what's this thing called a review, and what's that about? Oh dear. All right, what's that? Who's Martin? And why is he saying that we need to be beware of our practice? So I could only find the snip that I'd sent to our marketing guy to say, what the heck is this and what do I do? So basically we had a marketing thing where people who are new to the neighbourhood got through registered mail a voucher to our practice. It wasn't junk mail. And this guy just had a thing against getting things in his mailbox. So if you go through his reviews, he hit up everyone he'd get it from and give them a 1-star review. Thank you, Martin. So this is not a gentleman who, I shouldn't call him a gentleman because he's not, but this is not someone who's an actual client or a patient. This is just someone with the typical keyboard warrior. And it's heartbreaking. So that was our online presence, which does not look good. So when you're pouring your heart and soul into a place and this is what shows up when someone's looking for you, it's not good. So these things matter. So I'm trying to give some context about, the effects that they have. And it's, that was it. So not much fun, and that's me, sitting in the car park, not happy. And so what do you do? What do you do? And as I said, there's some business owners here, some marketers, all sorts of things, but ultimately it's about delivering value, and you can do that in lots of different ways. But there's very few ways that are going to do that more effectively than what reviews will. I'm sure every single person here relies on them in terms of what they buy, where they book, all those sorts of things. We all do it, right? The BBC had a podcast on 50 things that changed the modern economy. So there's things like radar, there's things like the humble brick, and one of those was online reviews. So if you think about it in that context, the sheer importance of it, that when they come up with 50 things that have literally changed the modern economy, reviews are one of them, okay? So if you're not already serious about it, you need to be. And ultimately, they're something which are very, very simple, but very, very not easy, okay? So there's two different things there. So they're simple but not easy, okay? So what to do? You need to get serious about having a strategy to get reviews, and lots of them, be that for your own business or be that for your client's business. And they deliver enormous value. I am sitting here firsthand, having seen that value, right? So I've got nothing to sell anyone here. This works, this matters, and this is a big deal, okay? So how do you go about that? The first thing is, before you can actually think about getting the 5-star reviews, you need to earn them, all right? So if your business or the service you're offering or your client's service or business is no good, you're not going to get them, and you don't deserve to get them either. So that's the key thing. Your core offering needs to be high quality, all right? I really can't emphasize that enough. So if you're crud, you don't deserve to get 5-star reviews, and you're not going to get them, okay? So put the effort into having a really good product. But I think most of the time, though, I think most people are good operators. The trouble is not we have a whole lot of poor operators and poor businesses. The trouble is then getting them. And I think everyone here would feel like they do a good job. They're invested in what they do. It's about then the next stage there. But if you know hands down that you are not providing services to a business, or you're not a business that is delivering a really high-class product, the first thing is get back to work and figuring that out and ensuring that they are. Likewise, if you work for a company or a client that is not, you just know that they're not quite there, this all becomes a whole lot harder because it's prefaced on the fact you need happy customers, okay? You need people who know, like, and trust you. You need raving fans. And if you don't have those, you're not going to get the Google reviews. So make sure that core product is top-notch, okay? If your business is delivering 5-star care, then the next thing, and I feel like this is the crucial one that everyone misses, is to ask, okay? Reviews are something that it becomes something you get clubbed over the head with, all right? People who are unhappy will leave one, but people who are happy don't tend to do it. So you need to make a point of asking your happy clients, your happy patients, to leave you a review, and that's really important. Also, when you're asking for a review, ask for a 5-star review. I learned that lesson once, and someone gave me a 4-star review, and I kind of was like, well, not quite what I was after. And I called her up and was sort of just chatting to her about it. And she sort of had the view that, oh, well, no one quite deserves a 5-star review. And I was like, well, it kind of affects the numbers. So anyway, we bumped it up to a 5. I saw her again, and I'd just taken a wisdom tooth out for her and convinced her to whack it up one. So that was good. So when you ask for it, ask for a 5-star review. Be really specific about what you want. But the thing is that everyone waits for the perfect moment, and there is no perfect moment to do it. Everyone feels awkward about it, and you will feel awkward about it, right? Like, there's a reason why not many businesses have many, because it's something that people feel uncomfortable to do, all right? But you need to work through that. It's the 100 dirty reps. Your first times you do it, you're going to feel a bit icky, a bit funny, a bit strange, and that is normal. But the payoff at the end is worth it. So if you're not a runner and you go for a run afterwards, you feel horrible. You're like, what the heck did I do that for? But if you can start to do it end on end and keep doing it, you will start to look better, feel better, get fitter, but you're not going to notice the payoff straight away. So you've got to work through that dip, that, as Seth Godin talks about, and keep going with it there. So yeah, why isn't it done? It feels hard, it feels awkward, you feel cheap, etc. But the thing is though, right, we're all social creatures. If you've been well looked after, people are super happy to say nice things about you. All right, so if you're delivering a really high level quality of care, people are really happy to do so, you will find, okay? And I guarantee if you think about your favourite coffee shop or your favourite hairdresser or whatever it might be, your favourite dental practice, say, if you feel like you're being well looked after, if they said to you, look, would you mind doing me a favour? A lot of people nowadays go online and they're trying to find where to go to get their hair done, their nails done, a dentist. Would it be okay if you said a few nice words about us? I guarantee if you think about those places where you are happy, you'll be really happy to do it, okay? Because we're social creatures, we're social beings. We like to help the people who help us, okay? So your clients, your customers, your patients are happy to do so if you've earned that. Okay, so don't feel like it's more onerous. The only reason you ought to feel that it's onerous is if you're not delivering that high level care. So have a bit of pride and have a bit of self-belief that if you're doing the right thing, that they will want to help you. In the same way, I'm sure everyone here would want to help that local coffee shop or their hairdresser or whatever else it might be if they needed their help. So yeah, they want to help you. They just don't know that you need it. Okay. If you've earned it, then your customers will be happy to leave you a review more often than not. So you need to ask them so that you can start getting those 5-star reviews happening. So how to do it? Automated is one way. You know, we've all left somewhere and your phone pings and it's, hey, give us a review, right? I'm very much not a proponent of that. I think it cheapens it, okay? So if you're going to do it, make it personalised. Preferably ask them in person, okay? I always think if someone's not prepared to ask me to my face and they're just sending a text as I leave, it doesn't quite cut the same, alrighty? So you're much, much better off just having a face-to-face discussion with them or on the phone or whatever else it might be, because it's just going to hit a lot harder and you're going to have a much higher uptake of people who are going to be receptive to it. The key to look for is look for the prompt. Okay, look for moments when someone gives you some positive feedback, all right? So if you've got a negative Nelly or someone's always miserable, yeah, don't ask them, okay? But my challenge is, in our practice, we might have 80 patients come through a day, 100 patients. And my view is if we can't find at least just one happy person that day that would be willing to say nice things about us online, what are we doing? Like if you can't find people who you feel you're delivering that to, the barrier is not, like it's not that hard to find people who should be willing to say nice things about you. So then it's about asking them. So look for those prompts when they say, hey, do you know what, that went really well. So things like, that was the best experience I've had at the dentist. I really appreciate that. Or, you know what, I've been dreading coming in for ages. It was actually much easier than I thought it was going to be. I really appreciate how you took the time to explain things. They're the sorts of little cues and prompts and things you're going to hear for your own business that should set off that light bulb moment and go, hey, this matters. Hey, this is the moment to do it. And the key thing then is ask. Don't overthink it. But they're about to leave. They're in a hurry. They had their kids with them. Doesn't matter. Just do it. Try and cut through that. Don't think about it too much. Don't overanalyze it. Just ask. Get the words out of your mouth. Don't look, there's no archangels that come down and are going to go, this is it, ask now. Find those moments when someone says something positive and jump in, alrighty? Overanalysis will kill a lot of these opportunities, so you've got to shoot your shot. So how do you ask? So following a compliment, you might want to say something like, Joanne, I really appreciate your kind words. That really means a lot to me. You might not be aware of this, but as we continue to grow as a dental practice, a lot of our new patients now come from others who are just trying to find somewhere good to go. And a lot of people now look on the internet. So we will say something like, it used to be word of mouth, now it's word of thumb. People scroll through and find the place that they want to go. Like if it's okay with you, if I sent you through a text message in just a moment to leave us a 5-star review, would you be happy to do that? I've not yet had someone say no. I've had people who didn't end up doing it, but no one will go, no, I'm not going to do that, Michael. Okay? Or in the very least, they might say, look, I'm not super tech savvy. I'm really sorry. Oh, look. And you just say, that's okay. I really appreciate your support anyway. Look, if you have any other friends or family who are looking for this care, if you can let them know, I'd be super grateful. That's it. Okay? So no one is going to say no. Alrighty? But that's the sort of thing to say, is to let them know that people now go online to look for this type of service. We'd love your help if you're happy to give us a 5-star review and say some nice things about us. And you will find people will, at the very least, no one will say no, but generally speaking, they will say yes and they'll be receptive to doing it, okay? So then what? So there's lots of ways to do it next. You can have a QR code that can sign on straight away and do it, all those sorts of things, and that all works well. What we tend to do is to send a text message from our practice management software, but again, we make it personalised. It's not just a link and you go, well, that kind of just cheapens it a little bit there. So we'd say things like this. Oh, hi, Kate. It's Michael here from Fullerton Park Dental. It was great to see you today, get your wisdom tooth sorted. As you know, we're a small business that relies on word of mouth. I'd appreciate if you could leave us a review on your experience with us. Every 5 stars we get helps others find out about us. So that's the thing as well. People want to help us, but they also want to help other people too, right? They want people to find good care and service, okay? So that's a nice little way to put it in there as well, that you actually help other people find out about good dental care in our case. So thank you so much. Have a lovely week. P.S. Here's the link. Or, hi Shannon, it's Amy here from Fullerton Park Dental. It was lovely to meet you today. Get your teeth all clean. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'm happy to help in any way I can. Talk to them about what they mentioned during their appointment, okay? So we talk about this person had a busy week, so they can see, hey, someone's actually put some effort into this. This is for me. This is not just a generic thing. There might be a template to it, but clearly they've spent the time and effort actually personalising it. So if you can weave something in about the most recent conversation you had with them, it works really well as well, okay? Authenticity, it's really simple. It matters. So those little touches are going to make all the difference. So make sure it's personal, not just their correct name, but also include something about their the broader discussion you had with them. So what do you do if you don't get a review? And it happens as well, okay? I actually think, it doesn't sound great, but I think if you're getting 1 in 5 of the people who you ask who say yes, do it, that's brilliant, okay? So that's a really, really good take up, all right? So don't be put off. As I said, it's simple but not easy, all right? But the payoff is worth it. So what do? We send them an email, something like this below. Nice friendly email, just to follow up on what we said. What we tend to do is to kind of blame a problem in the system for why they might not have got the text message, okay? So rather than say, hey, we sent you the text, why haven't you responded? I'm not sure if it says it in there, but it says... I sent a text to you via our dental software. However, occasionally they don't come through properly, so I thought I'd send an email just as well in case. So it's like a nice gentle prompt. without saying, why didn't you do what we said? It's like, oh, there might be a bug in the system, who knows? Just thought I'd follow up. So typically give it a couple of days and we'd send that through as well, okay? And at that point, you start to get a higher uptake as well. This is all templated, but you just fill in a few little details there as well, just to kind of make clear this is not a generic email there. I'll tend to say the subject is touching base or follow up plus a favour to ask with their name or something like that. This is not rocket science, but it's just to try and make it a bit more personalised, I suppose. So incentivise or not incentivise for 5-star reviews. Do you say, hey, look, if you give us this, we'll give you that? I am not a fan of this. I think it cheapens it, and I'm familiar with that. I've heard lots of people who will do that. Hey, if you give us a 5-star review, we'll give you $20 off next time. Or, hey, we'll give you this free, if it's a beautician or something, we'll give you this free cream or whatever else. I don't believe in that. I don't think it's great. It just sort of cheapens the whole thing and makes it a bit icky. So we don't offer an incentive. We don't say, if you do this, we'll give you this, okay? What we do though, is we work on the principle of behaviour that's rewarded is repeated, okay? And we reward those who do give us a review, alrighty? So how do we do it? We send them this out, okay? So a couple of movie tickets and a handwritten, it's actually printed. It looks handwritten, but thanks Vistaprint. So we send them out a note to say thank you. And people, they really love this. We get a lot of really, really, really positive feedback that when someone gives us a review and they get this in the mail, they think it's brilliant. It doesn't cost an enormous amount, but people love it. And as I said, behaviour that's rewarded is repeated. When you reward someone who does something good for you, guess what? They're going to do it more often. So they're like, hey, you think that was helpful? Wait till I tell my 100 friends or the WhatsApp group for the kindy kids, whatever else it might be. So it's a nice touch. It builds goodwill. So how much is a single 5-star review worth? For certain items, it's really difficult to determine the value of one item. Okay, so if you think about what's one playing card worth, who knows? One jigsaw piece puzzle, one Lego brick, one piece of rice, or one paperclip. It's very, very difficult to put a value on those things, right? So what do? It's difficult to attribute value. So how do you figure out how much they're worth? So for those things, what you really need to do, you need to think in bulk, all right? So instead of one playing card, we can have an idea that a deck of cards is probably going to be $3, $4, $5, something like that. One jigsaw piece puzzle, who knows? But for a jigsaw whole puzzle, you start to get a sense of what these things are worth when you consider them in bulk. A Lego brick versus a whole Lego set, a whole box of rice or paperclip versus one. So it's the same sort of thing with Google review. So I want each of you just to ponder, like how much, if your business, your client's business, tomorrow, click your fingers, had 100 5-star reviews pop up, how much would that be worth? And it's an enormous amount. So you might go, oh, what does one extra review matter? Well, one probably is not going to move the needle, but it's a bit like going for one run. One run won't move the needle. 100 runs, yeah, you're going to start to get somewhere. So you need to think in bulk for these things and seriously think about for each of your businesses, if you had 100 extra 5-star Google reviews tomorrow, what would that be worth? Like in monetary terms, what would that be worth? When people go looking and they see, hey, I've got triple figures of 5-star reviews, what's that going to be worth? So they're very hard to determine the value of. That's a fair bit easier. So yeah, how much would 100 additional 5-star Google reviews, how much would you pay for that if you could suddenly make it happen tomorrow, alrighty? Or how much would it be worth to your business? So I have a view on this. I think at an absolute minimum, bare minimum, 100 5-star Google reviews are worth 200 grand to your business in terms of driving leads, future growth, increasing business valuation, all those things. Would not be a cent less than that, and I would argue it would actually be a whole lot more, okay? And as I said, I've got my own business, right? I've seen these things in action, okay? So if you're going to have triple figure Google reviews and quite often your competitors aren't going to have anywhere near that amount, you are going to see a massive influx of more people. It's called social proof, that people are going to want to do business with you and they're going to want to choose you over others. And obviously it depends slightly on the size of your business, but comfortably 200 grand easily. The thing as well is it works good and bad, but they don't go away either. So pay-per-click, once you click once, that's the money done. You don't get a return on investment on that ever again on that one click. If you've got 100 5-star Google reviews, they stay up there. So every time someone looks, there they are again, there they are again, there they are again. So it's repeatable. So I think at a minimum, each one is worth 2 grand, okay, based on what 100 would be worth. I feel really strongly about this and I've seen it in action. So don't get stuck on what one is worth. It won't make a difference. Think big, think longer term. Removing reviews, hard and getting harder. It's getting a lot more difficult. And not all one-star reviews are from real customers either, which makes it tricky as well, okay? You need some different strategies based on whether they're authentic one-star reviews from a real customer or whether they are a fake review. Options to remove them: you can speak to the client or the customer, assess whether you can remedy the situation, admit some fault if it was. So we had a patient who, pretty soon after she left us a one-star review because she felt that she'd been overcharged. We hadn't communicated very well, and that was on us. So I gave her a call and just said, look, I'm really, really sorry. I can see what's happened. I can see this has happened. Look, we own that. We're going to give you a refund for that amount. I'm really sorry. Would it be okay if, given we're giving you the refund right now, if you took that down? Yeah, absolutely, Michael, that's fine. I just thought that X, Y, and Z, totally get it. Look, here, we'll credit it back. So if you're fair and reasonable, find the kernel of truth in what they've got and what they're saying. And the vast majority of people are very reasonable. Do you incentivize the removal? I'm not really a huge fan of that, saying we'll give you this, we'll give you that. But if it's going to get it across the line, if a couple $100, say, is going to get rid of that really nasty, scathing one-star review, maybe that's the go. Fake reviews, they're hard. They're difficult to identify who made the review. Check and see if they've left reviews at other businesses. This can give you hints as to who it is. So I'm going to talk a bit more about that. So you can turn off so you can't see what other reviews you've done, but you can also sometimes, it's always amazing, the people who leave one-star reviews seem to leave a string of one-star reviews. My personal views, I think you should have to have like a 3.5-star average if you're giving reviews, right? You shouldn't just be able to pummel 50 businesses with one-star reviews. I think they should kind of be like, nah, sorry, until you find some places to say nice things about, you can't give any more one-star reviews. They seem to get stuck into fast food places too, like KFC. It's quite funny, actually. As a side point to that, you would all be aware more than anyone else just about how important these are. So be generous of spirit as well. I only give 5-star reviews, and I really will do it voluntarily because I know how important they are. So if you've got a little coffee shop, a hairdresser, whatever else it might be, jump on and give them a 5-star review, right? They'll be super grateful, just as anyone here would. It's really lovely as well if it's a friend's business or something and you get a text message to say, hey, thank you so much. Our cleaning company, I asked them, I wanted monthly invoices, not fortnightly. They got straight onto it, did it. And it's like, hey, do you know what? I'd better do that. I'm going to jump on. So they appreciate it, as each of you would. So try and, give it back too. So removing them, you can request Google to remove them, but they are clamping down on this a lot. They're making it a lot more difficult to remove it. There's Removify in different companies that can remove reviews as well. But I haven't had an experience with that. Is it an option? Absolutely. But it's tricky and it's getting harder. So my view is the best strategy is to drown them out with loads of 5-star reviews, okay? So that's the thing. Like, try and get as many as you can of the good stuff. So 1 or 2 aberrant ones becomes less of a problem, all right? If you've got a whole mountain of 5-star reviews, the 1-star reviews, people are going to dismiss them pretty quickly there, okay? So I think that's an important thing to do. So really try not to be defensive about it in dealing with 1-stars when they come through. Instead, be proactive and getting lots of positive ones that people see, and they'll notice that, and that's what they'll base their buying decisions on. Make life easy for yourself. Oh boy. A cautionary tale: don't pick fights you don't need to. And I learned this lesson the hard way. So we had a uniform company that was making us uniforms, and I thought they were taking too long. And I let them know that they were taking too long. And I know, because I remember I sort of said something along, so it's going to take us 6 weeks to get our uniforms made. And I remember saying to them, like, I can go to Bali and get a suit made in 2 days. Why is it taking you 6 weeks to get our uniforms made? It turned out they didn't take too kindly to that. So be careful in your interactions with other businesses and things. Even if you think they're fair, it's probably not good to point out that you're not entirely pleased. So what I noticed after I had that conversation is within 1 hour, we had 3 1-star reviews, all from these weird new accounts. And it was like, I think there's a bit of cause and effect here. So we were like, this is not good. What are we going to do? So what was interesting though, because they're all fake names, it's like, well, who was this? What we noticed is that one of them, though, the fake name, they'd given themselves a 5-star review, and they'd given other uniform companies a 1-star review. So it was pretty obvious who'd done it. So that's a bit thick of them. But it was really clear that, hey, these are who they were. Another one had said, my husband's a doctor, but the young dentist at this practice, and believe it or not, that was me, they were saying he's really rude and he's this and he's that and I've never been treated so badly and all these sorts of things. That's right, sorry. It said, I'm a doctor, and the young dentist at this practice is horrible, basically. And what I was able to do is to go onto the AHPRA, so AHPRA website, which is all the health practitioners, and send through to Google to say, there is no doctor by this name in Australia. Like, this is a fake review, right? So we got one removed that way. We got one removed because we got the reviews and said, we've just had a review, called them up, and another one disappeared, which was good. We were like, look, we think it's from you guys, and it disappeared. So we got one removed just by calling them, one removed by saying to Google, this person said they're a doctor in Australia, it's not, can you remove it? And the third one was a bit more, it was stuck there. And I was like, do you know what? And then I remember hearing about something where someone had impersonated someone else and they'd got into a lot of trouble for it. So I literally printed out the article and I fronted them. I just rocked up on their doorstep one time and asked to speak to the owner and said, look, we've got this 1-star review. And I bluffed them and said, look, we've had it looked into by cybersecurity and it's coming from an IP address here. And it was quite interesting. And I was like, look, you've got a couple of options. You can remove it. Otherwise, here's the article of someone. It was a council election where someone had set up a fake email address and besmirched someone else, and they got into a lot of trouble. But I was like, I'm going to leave this here. Oh, and she couldn't fall back on herself fast enough. So I said to her, look, this needs to go. It needs to go real quick. So her email to me, she suddenly had Ben, this IT guy, who'd come out of nowhere, right? And she suddenly had this rogue employee who she'd said had set up all these things and done it, right? Which is absolute rubbish. But anyway, so yeah, she's like, oh, I've got Ben to come in. By the time I drove home, it was gone. So it was gone very quickly. And I'd said, and they had a whole lot of horrible reviews too for their business because they were rubbish. But I was like, look, I can actually try and help you get rid of them. And I thought, I'll send you a link if you can get rid of this one. So that was her email to me. And then I sort of said, look, I'm glad your IT person has located the fake email accounts. I'm happy for it to be resolved, but if it comes back again, I'm going to come for you. And then she asked about Facebook or something, but I gave her just a link to a pretty basic thing on how to remove them. And then, concerned, yes. So anyway, on and on it went, but it was gone. But literally it was like, I'm just going to front up, I'm going to rock up, and I'm going to front her and say, here's what we've got, figure it out. And that was a bit of a risk, I suppose, but it worked. And we got rid of all three. So just the lesson in there is to be careful. Just be careful. Don't do dumb stuff. Don't make life hard for yourself. Basically, I think you've just got to be clever about. Business in Adelaide is small, and people can be quite unreasonable or unreasonably aggressive if you try and remind them of their shortcomings. And nowadays, that's super easy for people to do, to jump on and, try and take a bite out of your backside. By the same token as well, like just be really careful as well with, I make a point of not leaving 1-star reviews for anywhere because, one, maybe they had an off day, but two, I don't want someone reciprocating and sending a torrent of abuse my way either when it's attached to my name, okay? So just be careful with that as well. There's been some cases where, I talked about the value of a 5-star review. There's been cases as well of where 1-star reviews have been found, they've traced their origin, and people have got into a lot of trouble and had to make some pretty significant payouts based on that there. So don't do anything silly. Don't set up fake accounts to try and, even if you think they deserve it, just don't do it. There was a case with a dentist who worked for someone, they left, and then they set up an account to have a go at this other person, and it all got found out. They figured out where it was coming from and all those things, and it hits the news. You don't want to Google your name and find out that the lead item is that you're in court for leaving a fake 1-star review. That's a career killer, a business killer. So just be clever about it. Don't do anything silly. Just try and think your way through and not be tempted, even if you feel like you've gotten the rough end of the stick. Don't go after anyone. Don't leave them a 1-star review. And as I said, I think if you've got, if you're well looked after by a business, I would strongly encourage you to leave them a 5-star review. Think about your friends' businesses as well. They matter. Having a few there initially as well is important. So once you can bump it up to 20, the 21st person will be a lot happier to do one than if they're the very first one quite often as well. So you get a bit of momentum. So yeah, just don't pick fights you don't need to. And yeah, I learned this lesson the hard way. But I think the message here is that these things matter a lot. And whether you're directly in the business or not, or whether it's someone else's, you need to avail your customers, your clients of the importance of these and what a significant driver for business growth they can be. So some of the people here might be at different ends of that sales process, but ultimately it's about putting money in the bank. You get money in the bank from paying customers. So anything you can do to get more paying customers is a massive boon for a business. And sometimes you can get lost in the weeds a little bit about aspects of marketing, for instance, and kind of lose the bigger picture of if we can drive customers, clients, patients to this business, it's going to help them more broadly. So having a strategy around that is really, really important. And I think that, that would be the take-home thing, to think about how you're going to do it and how you're going to go about that. And and how you can deliver that value, because there is enormous value in this. It's simple but not easy. It's simple to ask for it, simple to send them the text, all those sorts of things, but it's not easy. So you just got to overcome that. You got to overcome that, find a way and push through to the other side. And trust me, it's worth it. So yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michael. I didn't realise there was such a shadow industry in Google reviews. It's very, you can make a movie about this.
There's a lot there, yeah.
You talked about how much a 5-star review is worth financially, but how do you allocate staff time and resources to doing this work?
It's a very good question. So it's difficult and people don't tend to like asking for them. So it makes them feel uncomfortable too, all right? And which is a shame, and you can argue it's part of their job and all those things, but it's just one of those things that people will not jump into. So we actually looked at, we didn't end up doing it. I think if you can develop a culture where it's celebrated and getting them, that's great. We ended up trying to, what did we do? We didn't do it in the end, but gamify the whole thing, where we're going to have prizes ranging from, some of them would miss out, but then sometimes it'd be a coffee, a meal, or $100. And each time you got a review, the next one you'd pull off that thing to see if you won something. So that's a way to do it as well, to make it a bit fun, have it in the staff room. So it's great. If we're at 10 reviews, the 11th one, you see what you get, basically, okay? So I think that we're going to have it that a quarter of the things would win something, and it could range from a coffee, a meal, to $100. And you'd win enough that it's worth giving it a go. So it takes the ickiness out of it of a straight, you do this, I'll give you $25, say. But it also makes it a bit more fun, and also allows for a bit of gamification of the process as well. But have an honest discussion with people about their value, their importance and things, I think is important. And try and if you can get first followers, people are going to follow your lead and jump on board. That helps move the needle for everyone else.
My wife is obsessed with looking at Google reviews before we go anywhere, like a restaurant 100%. Or something. She will travel to go somewhere.
Totally.
Do you have any insights into how far people will travel to your practice based on a good review? Is there a tipping point?
That's a very, very good question. So I always get worried. So my view is, right, so business is global, right? But in dentistry, it's not just local, but it's hyper-local. All of our patients tend to be within 3Ks, sometimes 5Ks of where we are. There's a thing about happiness triangle, so it's the distance between where you work, where you shop, and where you play. The smaller that triangle is, the happier you tend to be. So what's my point here? When I start to we're in Fullerton, if we get a new patient from Port Adelaide, I'm kind of worried, because it's a long way to drive and you're passing a lot of dental practices to get there. So sometimes they are good to have the reviews, but sometimes people think you can solve all their problems, or you've got so many, you guys must be able to do something that no one else can. And that's not the case. So setting expectations around that. So I do get worried a little bit when I see someone's traveling a long, long, long way because they've seen us online, because sometimes their expectations are unreasonable, or they think that we are white knights or saviours or magic. We don't have we provide really good care, but just be a little bit careful about exactly that. People will travel a bit, definitely, but I think for us it's hyper-local. The people around you are going to come more to you, and be a little bit worried if they're travelling too far, because sometimes they come in thinking that you're God and we're not. So
you make sure you don't see them and you give them to one of the other dentists?
Or warn the other dentist about it, absolutely.
Do you reply to all reviews, or do you only address the positive?
So we've only actually at the moment got one-star review on there, which was done, and it was inaccurate as well. And that was a really unreasonable one. I'm still toying whether I contact them. We've tried to have it removed with Google, but it was basically someone that we realised they said we drew the wrong tooth, which is inaccurate. Another dentist basically convinced them that we'd done that. So there's a photo of the x-rays up there, and it's not the case. we'd refunded the money before they realised that. We called them up to say, hey, we realised we overcharged you. Here's $20 back, whatever it was. But then they went on and hammered us about that. It's like, we actually figured it out before you did. You didn't have to chase us up to say, we actually gave you the money back because we realised it. In terms of replying to them, I think it's good to reply to 1-star reviews, definitely. My view is, and I think with 5-star reviews, unless you can add something to the conversation, don't. So your response shouldn't be longer than their review, right? So just kind of let it sit there. I think it's nice I've kind of changed my mind slightly. I think it's nice to thank them for it, but it's not a conversation. It's nice to show that you respond to people as well online. So we give them the movie tickets and the cards, so that's done privately, but publicly, it's nice to say another little thing to say, hey, we appreciate people who do nice things for us by responding online, basically, but don't make it an essay, where you say, oh, we're so glad you're happy, we love it when we see you, and all right, yeah, okay, mate. Just like people want to check the review, not the response. So they've said the nice things, which is what carries weight. We pride us, yeah, we get it. Just say thank you and move on.
There are lots of cases of business owners that don't get it, and they go and they start arguments in the comments with people, and they get very protective over their business in the comments, isn't it? When it's a negative review, shorter is sweeter.
100%.
Yep.
And try not to be too defensive. It's hard not to take it personally. We're trying to get one removed at the moment, which I haven't had much luck with. But I think if you launch into, like, I've seen some pretty crazy responses to 1-star reviews that would actually do much more harm than what the review did. So if you've got a mountain of positive reviews, right, the 1-star review alone, no one's paying attention to it, okay? So you don't have to, you can only bring yourself down by acting like a fool. Instead, I think just go, look, we're really sorry you feel this way. We try really hard to do this, but clearly we haven't met your expectations. We wish you luck finding dental care somewhere else, basically.
One of my favourite things to do, you go and look at schools and the Google reviews that schools have, and it'll be like 1 star, I got a detention in 2013. Or my day job, I look after comms and media for the City of Port Adelaide Enfield, council. Yep. 1-star review, you missed my bin pickup last Tuesday, and that was, 6 years ago.
Yep.
Does it make you mad when you get a 1-star review for the smallest little thing when you feel like you provided a great service otherwise?
100%. So that's the thing. That's why I think it should be weighted. It should be like, you shouldn't be able to have less than an average of 3.5 stars for that very reason. And typically the people who leave 1-star reviews, they don't just leave one, they leave a whole stream of them. You can click and you see, and it's like, they're just these jilted lovers that just hammer, my chips are a tiny bit cold, there's not enough salt on them. It's like, come on guys, like you got...
1 star!
So and that happens, and that's a really funny example. Yeah, my bin didn't get picked up, here's a 1-star review. It's so, or schools, yeah, exactly right. So I think there's far too much, power and responsibility. It's really kind of interesting in life. Generally speaking, power and responsibility are married up. So if you're a parent, you've got lots of power, but you've also got responsibility for your kids. If you're a police officer, you get to have a gun, power, but you've got responsibility to look after people, not do the wrong thing. Whereas sometimes that gets divorced, and probably online reviews are one of those things where you have an enormous amount of power and zero responsibility. You can just throw that power around however you want with very, very little care. And that's a concern. I think when those two things, power and responsibility, get divorced from each other, then you're in strife. So absolutely, that's a concern, yeah. And
on the opposite angle, do you ever think that having 100% 5-star reviews looks fake?
Yep, good question. So fake reviews stand out, right? So if you were to Google Fullerton Park Dental and you look, so they're all legit. I don't have 421 family members to ask for 5-star reviews. So you read their stories and you can tell that they're real people. You can tell they're real patients. It's really hard to... If you ask me, what did I do this morning? I can tell you a very accurate story. I had this breakfast and my wife and my daughter. You said to make up a fake story about what I did this morning. It's really hard. It's really, really hard to fake stuff. So you can tell that they're legitimate when you read through genuine reviews. Typically, if you incentivize people, they just say something very, very boring, like, yeah, good experience, that's it. Whereas it's lovely to see some of that, and we share them among our team, the stories that come through. It's amazing. They write essays, and it's really beautiful to read. So you can tell when you see that this is not someone who's been incentivized to do this, or this is not Michael's brother, sister, something else, because you can tell there's a whole lot of detail in what they say and why they like coming. So I hear what you're saying, and that's a possibility, but I think if they are legitimate reviews, which they ought to be, you will find that your customers and your patients will say amazing things about you that are so obviously real and lived experience that it becomes very clear that these are real people who've had real experiences here, not a whole lot of 5-star reviews without, say, any description at all, which you go, nah, that doesn't seem right. It seems like people are going, we'll give you $10 if you do it before you go, versus people are doing it of their own volition. So I think we've got good radars for these things of telling, does this seem fake or does it seem real? And when you start to see some very extensive, long written pieces about it, it's pretty hard. It's a long bow to draw to go, I reckon this is made up.
Nicole has asked, are Google reviews your primary marketing strategy? Can you touch on how this fits into your broader marketing?
Good question. So I think definitely. So I think at one point I probably knew more about than any other dentist in Adelaide, dentist in Australia at some point. Just like the whole thing. I think I just did a really deep dive on it. But yep, they've been a bigger driver of growth than anything else. So we were a 2-chair dental practice, now we're a 10-chair dental practice. I'm off the tools. I don't see patients myself, which allows me to come to things like this. They work. So absolutely, it was a massive... so we do have a gentleman who helps us with our marketing and does paid ads and all those sorts of things, absolutely. But ultimately, when people come to look us up, they're seeing a stack of reviews. So they're coming they're warm leads as well. They're not going, oh, I'll see what it's like. They're coming in thinking they're going to be well looked after. So then it's up to us to live up to that, which is fine. We're very happy to do that. But yeah, it's been the biggest driver of our business by far in terms of any online marketing. And it's been brilliant. So yeah, the short answer is yes.
You're a youngish guy. I guess you're young in the dental field. You have a lot of older competitors. Do you feel like you've got an advantage being a young guy, someone who's grown up with the internet, who knows this, versus some of the, I guess, old school dentists?
I think dentists are really bad business people. They're just not very good at it. And it's not that hard. Like, I'm kind of glad I'm competing against them and not you guys, to be honest, because they've got their head in people's mouths and their hands in people's, probably not their head in people's mouths, they've got hands in people's mouths all day. So they don't really think about it. And I think it's that whole thing of being good at the technical aspect of a job is very different to being good at the business of that technical thing. So you can be a brilliant baker, but if you want to run a bakery, different skill set. So it's the whole working on the business, not in it. So yeah, you're right. Like, I think a lot of people don't pay. Like, when I went to the practice, when I bought it 10 years ago, it didn't have an answering machine, let alone a computer or a website or anything, right? So it was very old school, but the bones were there. It just needed a presence online and then to build it up. So I think that, yeah, dentists are dentists. They're not business people. They're not marketers. They're interested in drilling and filling teeth. And this other thing is an afterthought and something they give very little thought to. So is it a more fertile ground because they're not clued up to that? Probably, but people are twigging on. Like, they figure it out and go, hey, this thing seems to be a thing we need to pay attention to. So they get there eventually, but if you can kind of be ahead of the curve and pick it up before it takes off, I think that's the thing. So I think 7 years ago we started doing it and just hit it really hard. So you get a long, long way ahead. Just very quickly, with these things, with any strategy, right? The thing is, if you're in a race and you're fifth, what's your immediate goal? It's to get fourth. If you're third, it's to get second. If you're second, to get in front. But then you ask the person, what's your strategy if you're first? Everyone's like, oh, to stay first. And that's the wrong answer. If you're first, your goal is to get as far in front of the person who's second as what you can. Okay, you want to lengthen that distance, not just stay first. So just quickly, for those old enough, Kieran Perkins, he won a race at the Olympics. No one's expecting him to do it. He was in lane 8. But basically his goal was to get as far in front of the second and third place people as possible. So they stopped racing for gold and they raced each other for silver. That's what we did with this. We were like, I'm not getting in the competition. I'm going to get so far in front that everyone stops competing with me. So they're going to compete for second. So I'm not going to sit there and try and get into this little thing. We're going to hit it hard. We're going to be the first practice that gets to 50 reviews when everyone else is on 3. And they're going to stop competing with us. They'll compete amongst themselves. So that was our strategy, is to blow them out of the water and just dominate that space. So it ceased to be a competition for who could get the most, because we were already that far in front, that they just start competing for the silver medal instead of for the gold. So it's something to think about. If you're first, the goal is not stay first, stay one in front of the next person. The goal is to put as much distance as you can between first and second.
Final question. Do I need to go to the dentist every 6 months?
Yes.
Seriously, or are you just trying to get money out of me?
That's right.
That's a 1-star review.
That's right. Look, yeah, so putting my dentist clinician hat on, there's enormous overselling in dentistry, right? It's rife. There's whole courses on how to sell dentistry to people. I hate it, but you need to be aware of that quite seriously. Like, there's whole... Hit me up later and I can talk to you about it all. But if you feel like you're being sold to, you are, right? If you know, like, and trust your dentist, stick with them. Don't come and see me or my colleagues. If you have a good relationship with them, keep going and seeing the one you've got if you feel like you're being looked after, if you're being well looked after. But 6 months, absolutely. So I have not had a filling in my head, but I still get check up and clean every 6 months, x-rays every 2 years. There's a proper reason why you get it done. Those things aren't an upsell. But yeah, like, nowadays people are doing a lot there's a lot more upsell in dentistry of trying to, because people aren't busy, so they try and find work to do that doesn't need doing. We have a lot of people come to us for second opinions, so they've been told they need all this stuff, and they're like, oh, I'm not quite sure, and we're like, you're fine, see you in 6 months, okay? So just be careful with that. Be careful as well of things like, the free check or the gap-free check. So it's a loss leader. So you basically, you lose money on that, but you're trying to hit people up for stuff they don't need, so they come back and pay you a whole lot of money for stuff you don't actually need, or you can generally pay a little bit for a checkup and a clean, but you're not going to be sold stuff. So just be careful, no gap this, no gap that. But if you're being told you need a whole stack of work, you're paying it back another way. So just be careful about that. But yeah, 6 months checkup and cleans.
We're ticking all the boxes here today. Advice on everything. Thank you, Michael.
Right. Cool.
Amazing job. And if you do go and give him a 5-star review right here, right now, he'll give you 50% off your treatment. Is that?
Movie tickets.
All right, movie tickets, maybe. All right, thanks, Michael. All right, we are done for the morning. It is lunchtime. You can get lunch in the same spot as morning tea, just in the foyer. If you have dietary requirements, please speak to someone. And there's also a dietaries table there.